behind the scenes, it was made absolutely certain, they made certain that essentially they appear relatively fleetingly.
I mean, it had to be such a special time for her as well, having her family, her whole family attend all of these special events, which she said as well, that her family well represented her.
I think that the importance, of course, of the family event, the end of it, and on the balcony, you had the line of succession. You had Prince Charles and Camilla. You also had, obviously, the Cambridges. And, I mean, looking at Charles, William, and George, that is the future of the monarchy and also the Cambridge family. There's no doubt at all that the 18 members of the royal family, the working members who were on the balcony after tripping the colour, this is always the iconic appearance every year, begun by Queen Victoria in 1851, and a fascinating tradition. It's known throughout the world, and I mean, obviously the focus is on them to keep as many of the engagements and many of the charitable patronages that the royals do as possible. Bearing in mind the Duke of Edinburgh had 750 when he died, the Queen has over 500. The current, looking at the Cambridges, for example, they have fewer, but they're doing more for the few they have. But that may mean in the so-called slimmed-down monarchy, which it already is, really, and some of them are of an advanced age. So expect that until the Cambridges' children are able to pick it up to perhaps decline a bit, but symbolically so significant. And also, of course, so much interest beforehand on the Sussexes. How would Harry and Meghan behave? What would they attend? And, of course, Lily's birthday on Saturday. It seems they came on Wednesday. It seems that within at least 48 hours anyway, they had introduced the Queen to Lily. And also, they were at tripping the colour, but only visible in the windows for the press, not in any way conspicuous. The appearance that obviously caused so much attention, or drew so much attention, was, of course, at the Thanksgiving service at St. Paul's. Now, everybody remembers what happened in March 2020, the last engagement before they stepped down as working royals, and the fact that you could see the hostility between them and the Cambridges. It was actually obvious in a royal event, which you never get. And in this case, the royal household very, very sensibly put them on totally different sides of the aisle. And fair enough, they weren't in the front row, and in theory they might have been because he was sixth, or should have been because he was sixth in line to the throne. Very sensibly, they were put with Princess Eugenie and Beatrice and their spouses, with whom they get on, and there was absolutely nothing bar apparently a few cheers and boos outside, which is neither here nor there. It seems to be rather a silly feature of life at the moment. Nothing for the media to actually get their teeth into. They didn't attend the Guildhall reception afterwards. They decided against it, and they weren't visible again. They had a party for Lily, apparently, on Saturday, and then flew home.
Yeah. Do you think that they did that intentionally, just to make it so that they were not the headline?
I think that all of this had been worked out beforehand. There's no doubt whatever that there's so much that we don't know. Mm-hmm. There's so much also that had to be arranged. This was about the Queen.
Yeah.
It was about a unique moment in history. Mm-hmm. They are royal outsiders. They owe everything to being members of the royal family, and no one can say, with Harry's Invictus, say it was a remarkable charity. And their Netflix and Spotify, their contracts, but the reason is, of course, they're royal. But no one has forgotten Oprah, and no one wanted any trouble, and they also wanted the minimum amount of publicity. They wanted the publicity and the focus to be on the Queen and on the expertise of the various events and the rather extraordinary mix of things, from the parades, the big lunches and so forth. And that's where it was. And that was very, very well handled. The fact that they released a photograph of Lily is very charming. First one we've seen. But the fact also are, they did not and were never going to overshadow it, but there was so much written about them in the weeks which were leading up to it. But behind the scenes, it was made absolutely certain. They made certain that essentially they appear relatively fleetingly.
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense. There were reports that they were seen leaving Charles's home. Do we know if that definitely happened? If they had a conversation?
Apparently, this has not been confirmed.
Right.
You would have. It's been assumed that they met Charles, and it is assumed that they haven't met the Cambridges. But as I say, an awful lot has been going into the planning of all this, and who's met who and who video called who and who's spoken virtually, and how this is arranged. We really don't know.
Hey everyone, I'm Christina Garibaldi, the host of Us Weekly Celebrity Coverage. Don't forget to hit subscribe for the latest celebrity news, tips, and video. And for much more content, make sure you head on over to usmagazine.com, the official home of Us Weekly Magazine.